Your trains are running, but something feels off. They stop too long, they crawl out of the station, and somehow your factory is still running low on resources. You've got buffer chest, fast belts, plenty of fuel, so why is everything still so slow? What if I told you it's not just the train, it's how you load it, how you fuel it, where you place your signals, even the type of inserter matters. Let's find your bottleneck and remove it. If you want your trains to move faster, deliver more, and never keep your factory waiting, this is where it starts, optimizing your train stations for speed and efficiency. Let's break it down, starting with something that seems simple but makes a huge difference, loading and unloading. The first trick is to use buffer chests. Think of these as temporary storage that decouples mining from transport. When your drills are running, they're constantly pushing resources into these chests, even while the train is away doing its rounds. That means when the train shows up, it doesn't have to wait for items to trickle in. On the unloading side, the benefit is just as important. The train can instantly dump its cargo into buffer chests without worrying about how fast your belts can carry items away. That frees up the train to leave right away and head to the next job. Now let's talk about inserters, the mechanical arms that move your items. How you configure them at loading and unloading stations makes or breaks your throughput. Here is a simple rule of thumb. Inserters that fill the chest from mining drills or machines, these just need to be fast enough to keep up with your production. You don't need to overkill here. But inserters that load the train from the chest, that's where you want maximum speed. The faster your train gets loaded, the sooner it can move on. And it flips at the unloading station. The inserters pulling from the train into the chest should be lightning fast, and the ones moving from the chest to the belts can be slower, because belts provide a continuous stream and often merge together anyway. So how do you make inserters faster? You've got several ways. First, upgrade to better inserters. Fast inserters, stack inserters, and bulk inserters are your go-to. Then invest in inserter capacity bonuses. These don't speed up the movement itself, but they allow inserters to carry more items at once, boosting overall throughput. One last thing you can do to improve the speed of your inserters is to improve their quality. Higher quality inserters like green, blue, or purple move faster than their lower tier versions. Even a regular fast inserter, if upgraded to higher quality, will outperform a base one. So if you're chasing every bit of performance, investing in quality for inserters can give you that edge. And make sure to not forget about power. Inserters need electricity. If your power grid dips, especially under heavy load, your inserters will slow down, your machines will slaughter, and everything grinds to a crawl. Efficient stations need a reliable power supply. After that comes belt. Even with fast inserters, your whole system can stall if the belts aren't up to the task. Faster belts, red or blue, keep the flow steady and prevent backlog, but belt speed alone isn't enough. They also need to be balanced. If one side of your belt system is backed up while another is starved, you'll see inserters slowing down or stopping because there's nowhere to put the items. Use balancers to distribute resources evenly and keep throughput stable. And don't overlook consumption rate. If your factory isn't using resources fast enough, those buffer chests will stay full, inserters won't be able to unload, and trays will end up waiting for space to free up. This is often a hidden bottleneck. Your belts look fast, but the items just aren't going anywhere. Even a single chest being full and not utilized for unloading will slow down your train. Coming next are signals, an easy thing to get wrong, but so critical to have a fluid rail traffic. Every train station should have its own dedicated section, separated by signals. If a train stops and its tail blocks the main line, you're going to have a pileup of trains waiting their turn, and no one wants train traffic jams. A good signal layout ensures train can queue safely, pass freely, and avoid blocking others. When all of these work together, buffer chests, fast inserters, upgraded belts, inserter quality, and smart signals, your stations become efficient hubs, keeping train moving fast. Now that your stations are optimized, let's shift gears and talk about what happens between them, train speed and acceleration. But why does this even matter? Well, the faster your trains can move across the map, the more trips they can complete in a given time, and more trips mean more throughput for your entire factory. Let's start with the common misconception, track layouts. In Factorio, curves, intersections, and even tight turns don't reduce the maximum speed of a train. Trains can still travel at full speed through them as long as the path is clear. So the goal of your layout isn't about smooth geometry, it's about keeping trains from slowing down or stopping due to traffic, poor routing, or congestion. To keep trains moving at full speed, design direct routes with minimal distance between key locations, separate tracks for opposing directions, especially on busy lines, and multiple lanes or bypasses for high traffic zones. Another thing you can do to increase the speed is to research braking force. This doesn't increase top speed either, but it reduces the distance needed to slow down, letting your train stay at high speed for longer before stopping. That may not sound like much, but across dozens or hundreds of deliveries, it adds up to significant time savings. Now, let's talk about acceleration, what determines how quickly a train reaches top speed. First, the train weight. Every cargo wagon adds mass. Heavier trains accelerate slower. This is why long trains feel sluggish. However, a loaded train will not be slower than an unloaded train, only the amount of car matters. Reducing what slows down the train helps, but it would be better to increase the acceleration. If you have more locomotives, you have more pulling powers, and therefore you have more acceleration, and your train is faster. A common sweet spot is 2 locomotives for medium-length trains, but there's another factor that massively impacts acceleration, the fuel type. Here is the breakdown. Coal, wood or carbon, these are the most basic. They give your train 100% base acceleration and speed. There's no bonuses. Rocket fuel, this bumps top speed up by 15% and acceleration by 80%. It's a solid mid-game upgrade. And the nuclear fuel, this is the end-game option. Like rocket fuels, it gives a 15% top speed bonus and a huge 150% acceleration bonus. That's a 2.5 times faster accelerations than base fuels. So while all fuel types eventually reach the same top speed, the time it takes to get there is dramatically different. Faster accelerations means your train spends less time crawling and more time cruising, boosting overall efficiency. Now let's come back to signals. No matter how powerful your train is, it's going nowhere fast if it's stuck behind another train. To avoid this, your network needs enough signals to divide long tracks into smaller blocks. This allows multiple trains to share the same stretch of track efficiently without waiting for the entire segment to clear. Even better, build separate lanes for each direction. A bidirectional track with no passing room is just asking for deadlocks. So train speed and acceleration aren't just about fuel, they're about balancing power, managing weight, investing in research, and designing a rail system that keeps train moving without interruptions. When you get this right, your train stops being a bottleneck and become one of the fastest, most efficient logistics tools in your factory. So far, we focus on making individual stations and trains efficient, but as your factory grows, you'll face a new challenge, managing your entire train network at scale. It's one thing to have 2 or 3 trains running a few routes, it's another to have dozens or more trains crossing the map, hauling resources from dozens of outposts to multiple production hubs, all without traffic jams, bottlenecks, or deadlocks. Let's look at how to build a network that grows with your factory. Plan for expansion. When laying out your rail lines and stations early on, leave extra space for additional tracks, intersections, and platforms. It's tempting to make things compact, but that's the trap. Cramped rail layout become painful to upgrade later on. A bit of breathing room now saves you hours of rework down the line. Next, start thinking in blueprints. As your base expands, you'll be placing lots of stations, intersections, and track segments. Instead of building each one from scratch, design them once and save them as modular blueprints. Having a consistent layout for stations and intersections makes expansions faster, maintenance easier, and reduces the chances of mistakes. Now, let's talk about the structure. Rather than having trains deliver resources directly from every outpost to every factory, consider building centralized logistic hubs. These hubs serve as major transfer points where trains unload raw materials like ore, coal, or stone, and where production lines nearby pull those materials in bulk. Here is how to keep them efficient. Group similar resources, for example, have a central area that only handles iron ore and another for copper. This keeps your stations clean and focused. Leave room for future expansion. As your factory scales, you may need to add more platforms, more inserters, or more trains. Design your hubs with open space so you're not boxed in. Extend your production lines independently. Avoid entangling your smelting areas with circuit productions or oil refining. That way, you can grow each section as needed without messing up the rest. Now, let's zoom into the stations themselves. A few smart practices here go a long way. Use multiple unloading stations. The more platforms you have, the more trains can unload in parallel. This greatly boosts throughput. That said, you don't always need this at loading stations unless your outpost can actually produce enough to support multiple trains. Build waiting areas. These are short siding near each station where trains can queue up without blocking the main track. This keeps your main lines clear, prevents network deadlock, and avoid traffic jams that could bring your entire factory to a halt. Just make sure your number of trains doesn't exceed the total number of available platform and waiting slots, otherwise some trains will end up stuck on the main line. Don't forget to match your platform length to your trains. A 1 to 4 trains, 1 locomotive, 4 wagons needs inserters across all 4 wagons. If even one wagon overhangs the station, it won't be loaded or unloaded, wasting capacity. This can also be the cause of other issues where your trains would be stuck at the station because it waits to be fully loaded to leave the station. Use clear and simple station names. For example, around unloading is easy to identify and schedule. Avoid complex or duplicated names that makes routing confusing. Lastly, keep an eye on station performance. Trains that stay too long at a station or leave with only a half full load are signs of a weak supply chain. It might mean the outpost isn't producing fast enough or another part of the network is causing a backup. Try to identify the slow points and either scale them up or stop sending so many trains there. An efficient train is a fully loaded train that spends minimal time at a station. In short, managing a growing network means thinking ahead, plan for space, use blueprints, centralize where it makes sense, keep platforms flexible, and always keep traffic flowing. Do that and your train system will scale smoothly with your factory, no matter how massive it gets. If you found this helpful, give it a like, let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Thanks for watching and see you soon.